The girl who was ashamed of her father every Friday afternoon. An old rusty motorcycle stopped outside Green Valley High School. Tsutumo engine coughed loudly. Smoke came out from the exhaust pipe, and almost every student in the parking lot turned to look. Then came the laughter, because everyone knew who it was. The rider was the school's poor mechanic. His faded jacket was stained with oil, his boots were worn out, and his rough hands looked permanently black from fixing engines all day. But what really shocked students was this. He came to pick up one of the most beautiful girls in school, Lina Brooks. Lina was popular, smart, and admired by almost everyone. She always dressed perfectly, she spoke confidently, and her friends came from wealthy families. So every time her father arrived at school, she felt humiliated. One afternoon, her rich friend, Sophia Miller, laughed quietly and whispered, "Your dad seriously still rides that thing?" The girls beside her giggled. Another boy added, "My gardener has a better motorcycle." Everyone burst into laughter. Lina forced herself to smile, even though deep inside she felt uncomfortable. "I know," she muttered. "It's embarrassing." Unfortunately, her father heard every word. For a moment, his smile disappeared. But he quickly hid the pain in his eyes. He simply handed Lina the spare helmet. "Ready to go home, princess?" Lina immediately looked around nervously. "Dad, please don't call me that here." Her father slowly nodded. "Okay." The ride home was completely silent. That evening, Lina entered the kitchen and saw her father sitting alone near the window. In his hands was an old photograph. He stared at it quietly for a long time. Lina barely looked at it before walking away. To her, it was just another boring memory from her father's past. She didn't know that photograph carried a story powerful enough to change her entire life. The next week, Green Valley High School announced the biggest academic competition of the year. The winner would receive a full international scholarship, mentorship from top entrepreneurs, and enough money to completely transform their future. The entire school exploded with excitement. Students immediately began preparing projects. Teachers talked about nothing else, and Lina became obsessed with winning. "This is my chance," she told herself. For weeks, she barely slept. She worked on a business presentation every single night. Charts, research, marketing plans. Everything had to be perfect. Meanwhile, her father quietly supported her from a distance. Whenever she stayed awake late, he brought her tea. Whenever she forgot to eat, he left food outside her room. Sometimes he watched proudly through the half-open door while she worked, but Lina rarely noticed. One rainy evening, disaster struck. While finalizing her project, her laptop suddenly froze. Then the screen turned black. No, 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 no. She restarted it repeatedly. Nothing. Her entire project was gone. Months of hard work disappeared in seconds. Lina broke down, crying. "My future is ruined." Her father quickly rushed into the room. "What happened?" "My files are gone," she screamed. "Everything is destroyed." He remained calm. "Maybe I can help." Lina looked at him in disbelief. "You?" "Yes. You barely know how to use a smartphone." The room became silent after those words. Her father's expression changed slightly. Not angry, just hurt. But he still spoke gently. "Get some rest, princess. We'll find a solution tomorrow." Lina turned away angrily. "You don't understand anything." Her father quietly left the room. That night, heavy rain continued pouring outside. Lina cried herself to sleep. The next morning, She woke up exhausted. Then, suddenly, she froze. Her laptop was open on the desk. Every missing file had returned. Every slide, every document, every design, everything was perfectly restored. What? She ran into the kitchen. How did you do this? Her father smiled softly while drinking coffee. I called an old friend. What friend? Someone who owed me a favor. Before Lina could ask more questions, he changed the subject. You should focus on your presentation. But something felt strange. For the first time, Lina realized maybe she didn't know her father as well as she thought. Competition day finally arrived. Hundreds of students gathered inside the city's largest conference center. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Rich families wore expensive suits and jewelry. Some students arrived with private chauffeurs. Meanwhile, Lina arrived on the same old motorcycle. The moment students saw them, whispers began again. There's the mechanic. Poor girl. I'd die from embarrassment. Lina lowered her head in shame. Inside the hall, contestants prepared nervously. Large television cameras were everywhere. Important business leaders sat in the front row, one by one. Students presented their ideas. Some were impressive, others failed completely. Finally, it was Lina's turn. She walked onto the stage nervously, but as soon as she began speaking, everything changed. Her presentation was incredible, confident, creative, powerful. The judges were amazed. When she finished, the audience erupted into applause. For the first time all day, Lina smiled proudly. Maybe everything would finally change. Then suddenly, the main doors of the conference hall opened. Several security guards entered first. Behind them walked one of the most famous entrepreneurs in the country, Daniel Reeves. People instantly began whispering, "Oh my God, that's Daniel Reeves, the billionaire tech founder." Even the judges stood up respectfully. Daniel Reeves rarely appeared in public, but what happened next shocked everyone even more. Instead of walking toward the VIP section, he walked directly toward Lina's father, and then he saluted him. The entire hall went silent. Nobody understood what was happening. Daniel smiled emotionally. Captain Brooks, Lina's father, slowly stood up. It's been a long time. Daniel suddenly hugged him tightly. Some people looked completely confused. Others began recording with their phones. Then, Daniel grabbed a microphone. I owe my life to this man. The room froze. Years ago, Daniel continued, during the war, our convoy was attacked. Nobody thought we would survive. He, quote, looked directly at Lina's father. But this man carried me across 6 kilometers of dangerous territory after I was shot. Gasps spread across the audience. Daniel's voice became emotional. I was bleeding to death. He could have saved himself, but instead, he saved me. Complete silence filled the room. Lina stared at her father in disbelief. Her poor mechanic father was a decorated war captain. Daniel continued speaking. After the war, I built my company and became successful. But none of it would exist if this man had left me behind that day. The audience slowly stood up and began clapping, then louder and louder, until the entire conference hall erupted into a standing ovation. Some students, who once mocked him, now looked ashamed. Sophia couldn't even look at Lina anymore. Daniel then smiled. And one more thing, he pointed toward Lina. The restored presentation files last night? That was my cybersecurity team. Lina's eyes widened. What? Daniel laughed softly. When Captain Brooks called me, he only asked for one thing. Please help my daughter. She worked too hard to lose her dream. Lina felt tears forming instantly. Even after she disrespected him, her father still fought for her. Daniel looked at the crowd seriously. You judge this man because of his clothes, because of his motorcycle, because of his job. But real greatness doesn't always wear expensive suits. The hall became completely silent again. Daniel then placed a hand on the mechanic's shoulder. This is one of the bravest men I have ever known. Lina could no longer hold back her tears. For the first time in years, she truly saw her father. The scars on his hands, the exhaustion in his eyes, the quiet sacrifices he made every single day. And suddenly, she remembered something. When she was younger, he used to work double shifts just to buy her school books. He skipped meals sometimes so she could eat better food. Mashtutno repaired motorcycles late into the night to pay her tuition, and she had been ashamed of him. After the ceremony ended, Lina ran outside into the parking lot. Her father was standing beside the old motorcycle, quietly preparing to leave. "Dad," he turned around. Lina immediately hugged him tightly while crying uncontrollably. "I'm sorry." Her father gently held her shoulders. "For what, princess?" "For being ashamed of you." He smiled softly. "You were never my disappointment." Those words broke her completely. That night, Lina posted a picture of her father online. In the photo, he was still wearing his stained mechanic jacket. But this time, she felt proud. Her caption simply said, "My father fixed engines to survive, but he saved lives to become a hero." Within hours, the post went viral worldwide. Millions of people shared it. And across the internet, one question spread everywhere. How many incredible people do we disrespect just because they look poor?